Welcome to the Month in Review briefing. I'm meteorologist Michael Murphy, the climate program leader here at the National Weather Service Pendleton office. This briefing will highlight the weather of April 2015. I will provide an overview of the April monthly statistics, a brief synopsis of significant April weather events, and discuss the May 2015 temperature and precipitation outlooks. This graphic is from the High Plains Regional Climate Center and shows a departure from normal temperatures for the month of April 2015. The time period for the normals is 1981 to 2010. A value of 0 would mean that the location reported a normal average temperature for the month of April. Southern Washington and central to northeast Oregon was mainly near normal, with almost all locations within 2 degrees of normal. This resulted in only a few locations setting daily and monthly temperature records. I'll go over some of these records in the coming slides. This next graphic is also from the High Plains Regional Climate Center. This shows the percent of normal precipitation for the Northwest for the month of April 2015. A value of 100% means that the location reported their average monthly total precipitation. Nearly all locations reported below to well below normal precipitation, ranging from 5 to 75% over the forecast area. Many locations saw their top 10 driest Aprils on record. I will go over these records in detail in the coming slides. The month of April started off cool and wet for the first 7 days, then remained dry and cool through mid-month. The weather stayed mainly dry with mild conditions for much of the second half of the month, although there was a short, cooler period from the 22nd through the 26th. The first system of note moved through the area on April 4th through the 6th, followed by another notable storm system which affected the region on April 13th and 14th. Finally, a period of April 21st to the 22nd was characterized by a strong, but mainly dry cold front moving through the area. This brought gusty winds and much cooler temperatures. More information on these weather systems can be found in Section 3, Significant Weather, below. Meacham, Oregon saw their fourth warmest April maximum temperature on record of 76 degrees on April 28th. The current record remains 78 degrees set on April 22nd, 2012. Hermiston, Oregon saw their 10th warmest April maximum temperature on record of 82 degrees on April 18th. The current record remains 90 degrees set on April 30th, 1998. The cold system that moved through the area on Easter Sunday, April 5th, also lowered max temperatures enough to set a few top 10 record low maximum temperatures for the month of April, although no new number 1 records were set. The following table lists the weather station, April rank of the one-day record low max temperature, the record low max temperature with the date of occurrence, and the current record low max temperature for the month of April. Hermiston, Oregon recorded its second coldest maximum temperature of 49 degrees for the month of April on April 5th. The coldest maximum temperature on record for April is 43 degrees set on April 1st, 2009. Milton, Freewater, Oregon recorded its fourth coldest maximum temperature of 44 degrees for the month of April on April 5th. The coldest maximum temperature on record for April is 39 degrees set on April 1st, 1936. Kennewick, Washington recorded its fifth coldest maximum temperature of 47 degrees for the month of April on April 6th. The coldest maximum temperature on record for April is 41 degrees, set on April 2nd, 1936. Pendleton, Oregon recorded its fifth coldest maximum temperature of 43 degrees for the month of April on April 6th. The coldest maximum temperature on record for April is 38 degrees, set on April 1st, 1936. The mean synoptic pattern for the month of April 2015 was characterized by a zonal pattern over the Pacific Northwest. There was a stronger trough axis up over Alaska and northwest Canada, along with a weak trough axis just off the southern California coast. This pattern did not allow for many temperature extremes over the area. In fact, temperatures ended up within just a few degrees of normal for the month at most locations. This pattern did not allow for very many moisture-laden systems to affect the Pacific Northwest. Therefore, many record low precipitation records were set for the month. There were not many extreme minimum temperatures throughout the month. There were no record warm minimum temperatures noted for the month. There were no top 10 record cold minimum temperatures for the month, but there were 3 daily record lows noted below, along with their respective ranks and coldest April minimum temperatures on record. A T indicates that the temperature tied the record with other dates. Madras, Oregon set a new daily record low temperature of 13 degrees on April 9th. The coldest April low temperature on record is 6 degrees set on April 20th, 1927. Ellensburg, Washington set a new daily record low temperature of 24 degrees on April 5th. The coldest April low temperature on record is 18 degrees set on April 3rd, 2007. Pendleton, Oregon set a new daily record low temperature of 25 degrees on April 27th. The coldest April low temperature on record is 14 degrees set on April 19th, 1966. The mean synoptic pattern for the month of April 2015 was characterized as a generally zonal flow over the Pacific Northwest. Of course, this is the overall mean for the month. The reality is that throughout the month there were periodic troughs and ridges over our region. There was a slight overall negative height anomaly over the inland Pacific Northwest, which equates to troughs being marginally more prevalent than ridging through the month. This height and flow pattern allowed temperatures to end up within a few degrees either side of average at all stations. With few major or moisture-laden storm systems affecting the area, precipitation values ended up well below average to a record low for the month, which will be discussed in further detail below. A few top 10 average high temperatures were set throughout southern Washington and central to northeast Oregon. The following table lists the location, the rank, the average April high temperature, and the record warmest average April high temperature. Hermiston, Oregon had its fourth warmest April average high temperature of 66.8 degrees, with the current record being 69.8 set in the year 2000. Ellensburg, Washington had its fifth warmest April average high temperature of 64 degrees, with the current record being 68.6 in 2004. Meeksham, Oregon had its sixth warmest April average high temperature of 54.3 degrees, with the current record being 57.5 in 2000. Yakima, Washington had its eighth warmest April average high temperature of 68.2 degrees, with the current record being 70.4 in 1977. Due to the drier than average conditions and the periodic cold shots throughout the month, there was a good opportunity for ideal radiational cooling at many locations. Several top 10 coldest April average low temperature records were set in the area, but none broke any of the prior top records set. The following table lists the location, the rank, the average April low temperature, and the record coldest April low temperature. Antelope, Oregon saw their second coldest April average minimum temperature of 27.4 degrees, with the current record remaining 25.8 degrees set in 2011. John Day, Oregon saw their second coldest April average minimum temperature of 28.4 degrees, with the current record remaining 27.6 set in 1970. Hermiston, Oregon saw their third coldest April average minimum temperature of 35.3 degrees, with the current record remaining 32.8 degrees set in 1999. Sisters, Oregon saw their fourth coldest April average minimum temperature of 25.8 degrees, with the current record remaining 24.6 degrees set in 1983. Grizzly, Oregon saw their sixth coldest April average minimum temperature of 24.4 degrees, with the current record remaining 21.6 degrees set in 1964. Redmond, Oregon saw their eighth coldest April average minimum temperature of 25.3 degrees, with the current record remaining 21.6 degrees set in 1964. Pendleton, Oregon saw their ninth coldest April average minimum temperature of 36.2 degrees, with the current record remaining 33.9 degrees set in 2008. Considering the mean zonal flow over the region and that average temperatures ended up within 2 degrees either side of normal for most locations, there were only two top 10 April average temperature records of note. Ellensburg, Washington tied for its top 10 warmest April average temperature at 49.4 degrees. The current record for the warmest April on record remains 52.6 degrees, set in 2004. On the other hand, John Day, Oregon actually tied for its top 10 coldest April average temperature at 43.8 degrees. The current record remains 40.0 degrees, set in 1975. Precipitation totals were well below normal in most locations, which led to many top 10 lowest precipitation records and a few number 1 driest Aprils on record. Listed below are the locations, rank, April 2015 precipitation, and either the lowest recorded precipitation for April or the previous record if April 2015 is a new record. A T and or an asterisk means that the record tied with other previous dates and years. Dayville, Oregon set a new all-time record driest April with 0.17 inches of precipitation reported. This beat the previous record of 0.22 inches of precipitation set in 1980. Ellensburg, Washington tied for the all-time record driest April with a trace of precipitation reported. This ties the previous record of a trace last set in 1956. Yakima, Washington tied for the all-time record driest April with a trace of precipitation reported. This ties the previous record of a trace last set in 1985. Milton, Freewater, Oregon tied for the second driest April on record with 0.12 inches of precipitation reported. The current record remains 0.10 inches set in 1966. Goldendale, Washington tied for the third driest April on record with 0.06 inches of precipitation reported. The current record remains 0.03 inches set in 1956. Pendleton, Oregon saw its third driest April on record with 0.47 inches of precipitation reported. The current record remains 0.21 inches set in 1968. Meacham, Oregon saw its fourth driest April on record with 1.18 inches of precipitation reported. The current record remains 0.40 inches set in 2004. Hermiston, Oregon saw its fifth driest April on record with 0.28 inches of precipitation reported. The current record remains a trace set in 1999. Condon, Oregon saw its seventh driest April on record with 0.12 inches of precipitation reported. The current record remains a trace, last set in 1924. The Dalles, Oregon saw its 10th driest April on record with 0.12 inches of precipitation reported. The current record remains a trace, last set in 1977. Morrow, Oregon saw its 10th driest April on record with 0.14 inches of precipitation reported. The current record remains 0.01 inches, set in 1956. There were two daily snowfall records reported through the month. The first being Grizzly, Oregon, when 4.0 inches of snow fell on April 5th, breaking the old record of 3.2 inches set in 1938. The other daily snowfall record was at Meacham, Oregon, when 2.6 inches of snow fell on April 14th, tying the previous record of 2.6 inches set in 2011. We now turn our attention to the significant weather in the month of April 2015. A storm system affected the area on April 5th and 6th. An upper-level low moved into the Pacific Northwest, bringing much cooler temperatures, rain showers, light snow, and even thunderstorms. Central Oregon, including the Bend and Redmond area, reported a mixture of rain and snow showers through the day on the 5th, with even scattered reports of thunder showers. Temperatures were very cold for early April, with most locations remaining in the 30s and lower 40s through the day. Periods of light snow even affected the northern Blue Mountain foothills, including locations near Pendleton during the mid to late morning hours on the 5th. Only traces of snow were reported here. Slightly higher snowfall totals were observed in the Blue Mountains, where locations such as Meacham reported around 3 inches of snow from April 4th through the 6th. Locations in Washington were not affected as much by this system. However, periods of light rain were observed, and this rain lingered into the early morning hours on April 6th. Below are some sample precipitation and snow totals, along with weather. Thunder was observed from this system around the forecast area. From April 13th through the 14th, another strong cold front with an associated low-pressure system moved into the area, bringing periods of rain, wind, thunder showers with small hail, and cooler temperatures. A sharp upper-level trough moved over the region during the morning and early afternoon hours on the 14th. This brought a cold pool of air into the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere. As the surface warmed from daytime heating, this led to the destabilization of the atmosphere with convective showers and isolated thunderstorms developing. With a very low freezing level, some of the showers and storms produced small hail and/or graupel. This was mainly observed over the Blue Mountains and the Blue Mountain foothills region. Below are some precipitation and wind reports from this event. After a calm, dry, and mild day on April 21st, the storm system approached with a strong cold front by the late evening hours. This storm system was lacking moisture but had plenty of cooler air behind it. As the cold front moved through the area, some scattered showers were observed along with gusty winds. 24-hour temperature changes from the afternoon maxes on the 21st to the afternoon maxes on the 22nd ranged anywhere from 10 to nearly 20 degrees cooler over the forecast area. With the dry, cold frontal passage and increasing winds, there was also some minor, patchy blowing dust reported, mainly in the Columbia Basin. Below are some rain and wind reports along the 24-hour temperature change during this event. And now we turn our attention to the climate forecast for May 2015. The Climate Prediction Center continues the El Niño advisory due to the warmer than normal sea surface temperatures across mainly the central tropical Pacific Ocean. Their forecast states that there is a 70% chance that El Niño conditions will persist through the northern hemisphere summer of 2015 and a 60% chance it will continue through autumn. The next two slides will provide the outlook for the month of May and what impacts this late season El Niño development may have on our region. This graphic issued by the Climate Prediction Center, or CPC, is the temperature outlook for the month of May. The cool colors indicate a greater chance of below normal temperatures, and the warm colors represent a greater chance of above normal temperatures. The time period for the normals runs from 1981 to 2010. Most of the inland Pacific Northwest has a 50% chance for above normal temperatures. Far eastern Oregon has a 40% chance for above normal temperatures, and west of the Cascades has a 60% chance for above normal temperatures in the month of May. This graphic is CPC's precipitation outlook for the month of May. The green colors represent a greater chance of above normal precipitation, and the brown colors represent a greater chance of below normal precipitation. Locations along and west of the Cascades from central Oregon northward have a 33 to 40% chance to see below normal precipitation, with the highest chance for below normal precipitation in the Puget Sound area. Further east across most of the inland Pacific Northwest, there is an equal chance for above, below, or near normal precipitation amounts in the month of May. Please remember that these are probabilities of averages and that the day-to-day weather will still vary for the month of May. This concludes our briefing. Please continue to visit National Weather Service web pages for the latest weather information, including watches, warnings, and advisories. Thank you for your time.